Hello, everybody. How are you today? We back again, yet again, for another session. So, did you get what you were saying last time? The Africa Energy Outlook. So, where are we right now? So, we had the first session where I gave you some quick understanding of what is the summary or what is the picture as it look like for the Africa energy industry. So, as it stands for 2022, that was put together by the and released by the International Energy Agency, right? And I promise you that we're going to have the part two. This part two, that's what we're having right now. So have you looked at the first video? If not, still time to do it, guys. So, but if you've done it, yet again, let's move on and talk to the second part, right? So stay tuned, guys, and we're just gonna go and cover the second part of our analysis. And I'm pretty much sure many of you will be loving it. 1 second. Hello again, and welcome to our channel for the Renewables in Africa channel. So what is that we do? Our aim is very simple. We want to demystify the renewable energy sector for you, so that when you look at the sector, you know what to do. So if you're an investor, you say, hey, I want to pour money into the sector. I don't know where to go. I don't have enough information. Here on this channel, you'll find all the information you want. So whether it's from the business side, say, on the decarbonize operations, I like to get some vital insight, you find it here. Professional, when you jump into the sector, when you do what many people have done into themselves, definitely here as well to find what you want to do. But the one thing that we ask you to do, I just want to make sure that you sign up to all our platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Telegram, right? So that we put it up so you know whenever we can a new video and you can get up to speed with the sector. And also like you, if you're watching this right now, please leave comments or drop a message, share it with your people that you know so that they can get to know what we're talking about here and they can figure out they can all discuss. If you know it already, I can only thank you. I can't thank you enough. So thank you very much. And let's together see what we can do to make sure that we can sort of speed up the upgrades and the uptake of renewables into the sector. Now, I want to talk about the topic of today, right, which is essentially looking at the Africa energy outlook. So where are we? That's the part number two, right? So did you get the first part already? If not, like I say, go and watch this video. First of all, why do you need it at all? For the simple reason that, like I say, so usually people either want to get into the sector or maybe already in the sector, but it's good to have the global picture to see how things are evolving. So if you know that, you can position yourself. You serve as a business, you serve as an investor, or you serve as a professional. So you understand obviously what are the challenges, so that if you happen to have skills, right, that match those challenges, guess what? Then the market will be very receptive to what you are saying, right? But you also look at the opportunities because those challenges could be your opportunities, right? And also give you, like I say, a better all-round understanding of where we are, and you can then position yourself. And if it's just for pure knowledge basis, again, like I say, it could be very useful. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, right? So we've been fortunate to be in the sector for more than 10 years. So obviously we've developed a certain level of understanding. This is what is allowing us to have report that the one that was actually released by the IEA and absorb it relatively quickly. And because of our understanding of the market, we're able to give you a succinct and hopefully accurate and precise enough analysis that you would enjoy. So if you like it, leave a comment, as I say. Tell me what you think about it. If you don't like it, just let me know as well, so that we can see what we can improve. Is that okay? Excellent. And that's what we're going to be talking in this video, to give you the part number two. So, but before we go there, let me just do a very quick and short recap of the part number one. So in the part number one, so I talked about the challenge and the priority that the continent has, right? And it was very important to say that. And I mentioned the fact that the Russian-Ukraine crisis, together with inflations, are basically challenges that the country want to be tapping into. And I say that compared to previous year, we have 4% more people that actually live without access to electricity if you compare to 2019, and that needs to be addressed. And after that, I talk about the issue of energy access, right? So, like I say, there's only 43% of people and not only. So we have basically 42% of the population that still lack access. You shouldn't say only, because that's huge math, right? So that means that we're back in the 600 million, right? So, and this is not a good thing to do. And I talked about the energy demand as well, right? That actually was basically in line with all those trends that I mentioned. Now, what I want to talk to you today, it's basically the next part of the analysis, because basically, as I said, so the report was a very condensed and big report, right? So I mentioned a 3 point, and I want to mention another 3 point, which I believe are very important, and you may find it of an interest. So I want to talk about first the additional, the first additional point. It's the fuel supply, right? So what is quite clear is that electricity is clearly recognized as the backbone of the energy system in Africa, and it's actually true in the most part of the world, where in the continent clearly that's the case. And the new energy system that coming up into the continent are actually powered by renewables, right? And quite interesting. So you know that already, or you guessed already. So the continent has about 60% of the best solar resources in the planet, but only 1% of the solar PV capacity isn't sold in Africa. That's why I'm saying the market is still huge, gigantic in Africa, right? And solar PV is the cheapest source of energy in many parts of Africa already, and is already outcompete all other sources, right? And if you're moving towards 2030 in those areas, it will stay the cheapest, and clearly you'll even expand to go in other areas in Africa, right? So if looking at renewables like solar, wind, hydropower, geothermal, right, this accounts for about 80% of the new power generation. This was compared. This was related to the sustainable Africa scenario that the IEA has suggested that that's what the continent wants to do. So, apart from the fact that electricity clearly is the backbone of the new energy system that have been built in Africa, powered by renewables. Another point is important to mention, linked to that, is the fact that we need to have more flexibilities, right, in our system, because renewables are intermittent, right? So it's not continuous, especially solar and wind. So you want to have grids that are upgraded to be able to take that into consideration. It's very important. So we need to develop the grid interconnections, and we need to make sure that because renewable, it's not uh, is intermittent, or some sources are intermittent, we need to back it up with something else, right? So that's where you have your hydropower, but your natural gas as well that play a very important role, right? Very important to note. So, and also if you're looking at the industrialization of the continent, because that has been, and this, especially these days, so I'm hearing so much about that Africa also needs to develop. Absolutely, I agree with that. And people saying that because Africa needs to develop, Africa should be tapping into all their resources. Oh, it's something that we have to recognize. This is also true. But as long as things are better organized. But one thing is for certain is, right, we're not just gonna, let's say, completely forget all of a sudden the fossil fuel. It's just not possible, at least not in the continent, because 75% of power still comes from fossil fuel. But we need to have better mix where we have part of renewable that is growing over time, right? But for the time being, we definitely recognize that we need some level of fossil fuel that we need to use, especially natural gas, right? And we believe that the industrialization of Africa will be renewables, solar, wind, or the solar geothermal as well, and natural gas, right? So that's what the report is also clearly suggesting. So the second point after the food supply that I want to talk about, so I don't know whether that makes sense. If that makes sense, please leave a comment to me, and I'll respond to that. And I definitely as well tell you what I think. But hopefully that makes sense for all of you guys listening, right? So I want to talk about the second point. Yeah, well, the second point that I'm adding on top of the three that I did last week. Oh no, sorry, on Sunday. Yeah, that was last week. Sunday, and the one that I've just mentioned here. So the second point I'm adding is that the critical minerals, right? because a lot of the resources in terms of minerals that are critical for the clean energy technologies happen to be in Africa, right? And they will create a new market for the continent, right? So, because if you're looking at the amount of cobalt, manganese, platinum, you know, that are very important for batteries and also for hydrogen, especially at the time where we're talking a lot about EVs, all about hydrogen technology. 40% of those reserves, as I mentioned, cobalt, manganese, platinum, happen to be in the continent of Africa. So clearly that will create a big market. It's already creating a big market. Yeah. You have countries like South Africa, so the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, especially that one, Mozambique, they have huge reserve, right? And you can see already people flooding into this country because they want to have access to those minerals. So that means the continent has the opportunity to use it, as I say, basically to the benefit of the people, to the benefit of the full continent. So this is something that we clearly need to be looking at. But clearly, we don't want to be repeating the same mistake that we've done with fossil fuel already, right? Africa already had a lot of resources. It's just like it's not being properly used. So that's why many people in the continent have not been benefiting from that. So what we saying, that's what the report is saying, which we agree to. So the fact that a lot of the critical minerals happen to be in Africa should be used to the benefit of Africa, and the continent should be better using, right? So, and now I think we have people that are a lot more aware of what's happening, hopefully to be able to address that with the market. So the last point that I want to mention here, right? So on top of the two that I mentioned already, which is the fuel supply and also critical minerals, is the role of hydrogen, right? And the report also talks about hydrogen. The fact that Africa has huge potential to produce hydrogen from its renewable resources. I believe I mentioned that already in the previous video, which is the fact that hydrogen technology per se, it is not new. What is new, or the new part, it's actually the process to produce hydrogen. Because at the moment we're producing a lot of gray and brown hydrogen coming from fossil fuel, yeah, blue as well, coming from fossil fuels, carbon capture. But the idea is how can you decarbonize that? Because obviously this is very much energy intensive. And a lot of people have been saying that Africa, because the huge reserve of solar, huge reserve of wind, huge geothermal, could be used to produce hydrogen, especially for the export market, right? And you have a number of countries, like, for example, Mauritania, Morocco, and clearly Egypt and Namibia who clearly want to be a hub for hydrogen that really pushing ahead this way, right? And now South Africa as well, right? So, and that's where we want to we see an opportunity as the report, right? And the thing as well that most of those resources for hydrogen, right? So, could potentially be used to produce ammonia and produce as well that is used for fertilizer. Yeah, that could be good for Africa food security because that's another crisis that we mentioned recently. The fact that the energy crisis that we have in Ukraine and Russia has sort of led into a food crisis in the continent of Africa, and we're hoping that right? This can be changed. So that's where I can say at the second part of the analysis for of the report. But all in all, like I said, it's a report you clearly want to be looking at, right? So I talked about that already, and I say yes, you clearly want to be looking at this report because it is very, very, very interesting report. And this is the kind of report that you want to be looking at on on a yearly basis. Whenever it comes, you want to be able to look at that and appreciate it, right? So just for me to share with you, if I can very quickly, I should be able to do it. 1 second. If I find it, yeah, that's it. So let me share that very quickly. So that's just some figures that the report is sharing. Because all I've said, you should be able to find it in this page, which is you go to the IEA website, you see the Africa Energy Outlook. That's where you have all the key findings. So, and what I've done today is simply to summarize what is said there, but also to give you my own analysis. And you can see here showing that the levelized cost of electricity by technology, showing that clearly. So solar, where it is, where it is at the moment, where it's going to. So it's going to be cheaper and cheaper, right? And which is something that is that is quite good. So that's what I wanted to share with you today in terms of the analysis of the report. I'm sure you're going to have a lot to say today. So I'm a little bit tight today. So I see your comments. I see your question. I promise I'm going to respond to that. I just a little bit tight today. So probably going to have to run to another commitment, but I come back and I definitely will respond to that. I'm hoping that you have enjoyed, right? And I'm hoping that you've understood what's in the report, the Africa Energy Outlook report. And I'm hoping that you're going to leave a message, right? And they're going to tell me what you think. You're going to be sharing this with people so they get to know that. Like I said, that's where it starts. Start by you getting to understand where are we as a sector. Where can I come in? What can I bring, right? And that would be great. So let me know what you think. I'm very, very curious, very, very interested to see, and to see a lot of you are watching it, are liking it, are leaving comment, and I appreciate that. And then, yeah, let me know what you think. What is your opinion? So, do you think we're making progress? We're not making progress? Are you happy where we are? Not? Yes, I like to find out, and then it'd be good to let you know. So, yeah, like I said, so I'm a little bit tight today because of commitment. But definitely want to at least to catch up with you, and I'm looking forward to hearing and reading from you. And all I have to say, until Sunday, may the sun be with you guys. Get better.